Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen. It's a July 1st edition, everybody, as we click over into a new month. It is already July, and the Eagles training camp kicks off in July, so it's just right around the corner. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Tuesday morning, brother?
Doing well. We are, July. We're here, 3 weeks away.
We're here, J-Mac. It's no longer like in the future, man. Like it's like here, like it's July. It's this month, man. It's like we're on like a bye week right now. That's how close it is.
Yeah, not quite, but don't get me too anxiety.
Don't take away any of your extra days, man. I can't say that yet.
Yeah. It's already looming. Training camp previews, all that kind of good stuff. It's already creeping up on me. What's a good anxiety medicine, Zander? Anybody know?
Yeah, I'm not the. What's the one that the guy took in The Sopranos?
Well, I'm looking more over the counter.
You're all right. You're looking over the counter. I don't know, maybe weed, John. I don't know. I don't know anything other than that, probably over the counter. But I'm not the right guy to ask for that. Johnny Mac, good stuff, man. We've been having a great show, following along in the top 25. So we'll continue to do that. We got a new name on the list here for today. We're gonna have Chris Franklin over in hour number 2. So we'll talk to him a little bit. And plus, still plenty of stuff to talk about, man, as we get closer to this season. We just mentioned it's right around the corner. New year, new team, new iteration. Is that the word Jalen kept using? Iteration of the team?
Yeah, iteration, new iteration. I'm glad when players point that out because there is no defending champions. You're the reigning champions because there's so much turnover in the NFL. Obviously, so many guys. Isaiah Rodgers already got a Super Bowl ring. We were talking about him at the Devontae softball game. Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, and Darius Slay was at the game as well. On and on and on. This is a different team, as is every year in the NFL. It's not new. Everybody goes through it, but they are not defending a championship. They're trying to win a second consecutive championship. With a different group of players, and I'm glad Jalen pointed that out because it seems like common sense, but it really isn't.
Yeah, but it is. Is that another one of those Johnny Mac-isms where like?
If you're writing, if I'm your editor, do not put defending. Yeah,
but the whole NFL world, that's like what everybody says. Even the big networks.
It's the same thing with the first round. Because everybody's wrong doesn't mean you have to be wrong.
That's true.
If you're teaching.
That's
younger
true.
people. Yeah. So because everybody gets lazy and does it, and everybody does, and there's a difference between laziness and just making a mistake,
or lack of knowledge. I mean, there's some people probably never have been. Maybe they don't have an editor as good as Johnny Mac, and they've never been told, John.
Well, that's only because I had good editors who, pounded that into me in a different era where, you got dressed down for making mistakes, so it sticks with you.
There you go. But do we need more of that in today's journalism?
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. A, because you need a thicker skin, most people today. But B, because it should be right. That's the whole idea of the profession.
Yeah, right. The pursuit of truth, the pursuit of being correct. I agree with that, Johnny Mac. Bunch of buttercups out there today, Johnny Mac, huh?
Yeah. Former first round pick. That's my worst.
That one. John, I've been pretty good on that. Speaking of teaching a youngster, that is one you've drilled into my head where I haven't made that mistake very often in the last year or two. So that's pretty good on that front. John, I want to give everybody an update too. Friday is July 4th, so there'll be no show on Friday. We'll go through Thursday for everybody and then enjoy your nice long weekend. It is July 4th, one of my favorite holidays. I hope you guys have a nice July 4th holiday, whatever you guys have on the agenda. John, you grilling up for July 4th? Is that what's on the agenda?
Oh, how many days away? 3 days away. I'm sure I will be, but I don't have that information just yet, Zander.
Yeah, that's a Thursday night.
I do what I'm told. What I'm told.
I hear you. It's good stuff there. I will circle back on one thing that I did get my Blackstone with very minor maintenance up and going. And I'm going to have to put that back in the recommended file for you, Johnny
All
Mac.
right.
That thing is a freaking beast when it's cooking. And it was cooking. I just had a little cobweb in there. It was in the garage all summer. I mean, who am I to think I should be able to pull it out and the thing launches up perfect? So just cleaned out a little cobweb from one of the burners, and we're right back cooking on that. So you might have to add that, John, to your wish list one of these days. Maybe your wife will get it for you for Christmas or something. But I did want to say that out there. I hope everybody does have a great July 4th coming up. John, let's dive right into our top 25 list here on the show, man. We've been doing it for the last week or a week and a half or so here, and we're down to number 15. I will rattle off the top 25 real quick for everybody. We're down to 15. John will give us that in just a second. I'll start from the top 25. We had the only tie on the list was Jahad Campbell and Drew Makuba, the two rookies. 24, we had Matt Pryor. 23, we had Adoree Jackson. 22, Jahan Dotson. 21, Keely Ringo. 20, Jake Elliott. 19, Jalix Hunt. 18, Moro Ajomo. 17, Jordan Davis. And number 16 was Nakobe Dean. And here we are down to number 15. Johnny Mac, once again, the floor is yours. Who is number 15 on the SI top 25 Eagles players list coming into the 2025 season?
Probably lower than he should be, but it's going to be Reed Blankenship. Same thing with Nakobe at 16. I mean, Nakobe's should be higher, but injuries creep in. He's not healthy right now. So that's tough to get out of the back of your mind. And, with Reed, it's different. The old undrafted standpoint. I was thinking about Max and Hook, by the way. I'll go off on a tangent about Max and Hook for people who don't know about him. But yeah, Reed's 15th, I think deservedly so. Second straight year, he ended up at number 15. Just a rock solid player. If you think about him coming back for a second season, that was the surprise when we all went to training camp that year, and he said, well, what are they going to do at safety? What are they going to do at safety? And from day one, it was Reed Blankenship, every single first team snap, every single first team rep. And he's taken over that job. And obviously, has a high football IQ, which Vic loves. So it's no surprise that Vic sort of became enamored with him as well. Made a host of big plays, has that knack late in games. You saw it week 1 last year in Brazil, making the diving interception to sort of end that game. Just really solid player, captain of the back end of the defense, which created some waves when Darius Slay let people in on that versus Vic Fangio already did, if people were paying attention. But really important part of this defense, especially this year with, there's going to be some youngsters on the field, most likely Keely Ringo, most likely Drew Makuba, if you're playing the odds. And that's a rookie, second-round pick, and a guy who's in his third year but is barely played on defense at least. So he's going to be even more important to sort of steady the ship, I would say, in the secondary. And I think he's up for it. I think he's probably the most underrated player on this team, I would say.
Wow. And you insinuated, John, when you said he was the guy at 15, that you thought he maybe should have been higher. Is this another case of you had him a little higher than Ed, and Ed's ranking pulled him down the board a little bit, or what happened there?
No, even. So I put myself in that same category. Okay. It's tough. Not even. I had him a little bit higher than Ed, but it wasn't drastic. I think one spot higher. So, that UDFA tag is tough to shake, man. It is tough to shake. And we're talking about it with his contract extension as well, which I expect to happen before week 1. It is tough to shake. And that's why I was talking about Max and Hook, who is, a rookie undrafted guy this year from Toledo, was Quinyon Mitchell's roommate at Toledo. He's a safety, and people are like, well, yeah, they don't think about Max and Hook because it's you saw in the spring it was obviously Reed is locked in, but after Reed it's Makuba, it's Sidney Brown, and then even people will talk about Andre Sam because he got first team reps. Lewis Seen even got some first team reps, and then I'll go, well, Max and Hook, he doesn't have a chance with those numbers. Max and Hook was the highest UDFA from a contract standpoint. He got a $30,000 signing bonus, which doesn't sound like a lot, but Reed got $5,000 back in the day.
Yeah, right. I remember a couple of years ago, the highest paid undrafted guy we had was Carson. What was that guy's name? Carson Strong.
Well, he's a quarterback, a little bit different, but
quarterback. I remember him when it was talked about that he got this big money, and I was like, yeah, he stunk.
Well, he was injured, but you know, he's a good college player. So
he was a good college player. Yep.
The thought brought, and then he just destroyed his shoulder, and he just couldn't throw the football when he got here. So, but when you look at those undrafted signings, you always look at the total guarantees, and he got $200,000, which is pretty significant, and a $30,000 signing bonus, which is like a lot more than Reed got. So, I mean, he's going to have to earn his right. But my point being is, like, people write him off, and he's starting higher on the totem pole than Reed was back in the day. So I wouldn't write some of these guys off, some of the undrafted guys. But in the case of Max and Hook, it's also, you know, the Eagles have a very strong relationship with Toledo because Nick Sirianni's roommate, and man, Jason Candle's the head coach at Toledo, but old college roommate. He was his old college teammate, coach, roommate, landlord. He was at his wedding. You know, that's the kind of intel they get from Toledo, which obviously worked out with Quinyon Mitchell. They also signed a linebacker, Lance Dixon from Toledo. Don't underestimate those relationships.
So you like Max and Hook, it sounds like. You think he's going to
I think he's got a chance to make the team, especially, you know, he's got a chance to beat out Andre Sam and Lewis Seen. Yes. Right. Obviously deeper down the depth chart, but yes, no question he's got a chance. I almost expect it.
I like it. I like the Max and a little bit of Max and Hook love this morning here on Birds 365. But I do want to get back into Reed Blankenship. John, how does he plan to, what do you think he has to do to elevate his game to climb even higher on this depth chart? I think if anybody said, a couple of years ago that Reed would come in at 15, it doesn't sound too high, but considering the amount of good players on this team, I think that's still pretty impressive. And I understand why you said you thought he could be higher, and I agree with that. But I think 15 is the right number there. How does Reed elevate his game even further this year? Because he did have Gardner Johnson last year next to him, who is a playmaker, and he did have Darius Slay back in that secondary as well, who provided another veteran presence. Now, the veteran presence is you, Reed. You are the veteran presence. The Quinyon's not as experienced as you. Cooper's not as experienced as you. Keely Ringo and Drew Makuba are certainly not as experienced as you. I think Reed Blankenship's got to take it to a new level this year, John. As good as he has been, he's really got to solidify that secondary. And how does he do that this year?
Well, I think, I expect him to be a team captain this year. With some of the guys, Brandon Graham, especially defensively, and Slay. I think he's going to be one of the team captains. We'll see how that shakes out, but he's already been doing that as far as the communication on the back end, as far as being the leader on the field. So none of that changes. And he's also the guy that Vic counts on to be, for lack of a better term, a little more disciplined than CJ was. So I don't, there's going to be people that say, well, CJ's not there, you're going to have to make more plays. That's not Reed's game. That's not what Vic wants him to do.
Do you think Vic was fine though with CJ freelancing a little bit more because he had the steady player in Reed and because there was the playmaking upside from that, or do you think he'd rather do without it altogether?
That's interesting. Well, I think after it happens, I think he loves it.
Yeah,
But
right.
I think in between, I think he hates it like anybody else. I think it's, it's like the old basketball coach is like, no, yes. When somebody takes a Steph Curry shot.
Yeah, right. A 36-foot three, and you're like, no. And then it goes in, and yeah.
Exactly. So I think it's one of those deals. Yeah, I think he got frustrated by it. And then when you make a play, you love it. That's just human nature.
Well, the reason I asked is because I do wonder if Vic would be looking, maybe to replace that, maybe in a more refined way, maybe in a more disciplined way, but well,
I think there's always that there's
upside,
There's always that hope that, and it mainly Drew Makuba because he's the guy who got drafted with Vic in mind, and he's a coverage player. I think there's the hope that he can turn into that ball skill type playmaker, and be a little bit more disciplined while doing it. But
I could see Reed being that. I mean, remember, Reed did have, you pointed out the diving interceptions. I think he had a few of them last year.
Yeah,
I mean, he was he's a more disciplined player, but I could
now that's not his role. His role is, his role is to be the true safety, the last line of defense. Like I don't think he wants to take him out of that role.
Yeah, that makes sense. In a way, it gives him a safety blanket if the other safety is freelancing a little more like Gardner Johnson was.
And he makes plays doing that as well. So, I mean, it's the best of both worlds, but he's never going to lead the league in interceptions. Like, I think there's a lot of misconceptions similar to sacks. And like, if you lead the league in interceptions, that means two things. One, you got great ball skills, and two, you take a lot of chances. You look at Deron Bland a couple years ago with the whatever he had, 5 pick sixes. It was absurd. He also got beat a lot. Trayvon Diggs, people point to him getting beat. Well, yeah, he's getting beat. You take chances when you get that many interceptions. Yep. So it's a give and take. But obviously people like splash plays and, just as CJ, they made the Super Bowl when he was here. They fell apart without him, and they won the Super Bowl when he was here. He loves that.
Is that a coincidence in your eyes, or is that does he deserve more credit for that than?
No, I mean he's a big part of the success, but no, I mean I don't believe the quarterback is solely responsible. So I certainly don't believe the safety is. The Eagles were really good in, CJ was here in 2023. Would they have been better? Sure. Would they have been a Super Bowl team? No effing way. Not with Sean Desai and Matt Patricia. Would have been a little bit better, sure. But no, he's not solely responsible. That's ludicrous. But he was a big part of it. That's fair.
Reed Blankenship coming back to be the anchor in that secondary. He falls at number 15 on the list, Johnny Mac. John, pretty good for him. I mean, I know you floated maybe he could be higher, but I feel like 15 is right around where I expected him to fall. I think that's pretty good for the undrafted free agent, Reed Blankenship, as we've pointed out many times here. He's trying to shed that label. I got to do a better job. I'll let him shed that label. I think Reed is better than that. So I do want to let him shed that label a little bit more, especially with the contract coming up. But overall, pretty good for him, John, to fall at 15, and we'll see what he can do, man. He's going to be a big part of that defense this year, with really his role even evolving even more, as I pointed out with the secondary. He's the leader back there. So he's going to have a big year for this defense to work.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like twofold. It's almost weird to the point where people will hold that against him, that he was undrafted still, And they do it with every undrafted guy that breaks through. He's not the first one. They'll hold that against him, but nobody questions. Like, nobody worries about his position. You know, it's an interesting disconnect. It's like, oh, who's going to play opposite Reed Blankenship? You know, nobody says, oh, you think Reed's going to play well? No, he's going to play well. He's 26 years old. He's only getting more experienced. He's only going to get better. He's going to be 27. Nobody even questions it. But yeah, so it's an interesting dynamic there.
Yeah, we'll see what he can do this year. I'm gonna get to a couple super chats here today. I still got more questions on Reed Blankenship, so I'll hit them. But I gotta hit it. You see a $20 super chat coming, you go to it. Vulnerable Vitality checking in. What's up, Vulnerable? How you been, brother? Good to see you in here. He says, I've been super busy getting my business started. I love it, man. Keep grinding, keep building, keep growing, and keep working your ass off. But I'm here live today. Love you guys. Go Birds. Give us a go Birds, J-Mac, for the people. I'm practically begging.
I love you, Vulnerable, and thank you. But no, that's a non-starter.
Is not for sale.
That is a non-starter. And the only one like ask Berman that. He'll do the same thing. No, absolutely not.
I'll shake it like a fucking stripper for you, brother. You want to toss $20 super chats? Come on, man. I can be bought. Johnny Mac cannot be bought.
Back in the pre-COVID days when I used to do live remotes for your dad, he asked me to put on an Eagles jersey one day. I'm like, fuck, no, man, no. That's not how it's done. I'm sorry. That was a place in Glassboro, the Landmark Americana.
Oh yeah, I remember the Landmark. That was a good spot.
Yeah, I'm like, no, that's not. No, can't do it. I appreciate it though. But
Vulnerable, thank you, brother. Appreciate the super chat. By the way, good luck on your new business, brother. Keep grinding, keep growing, keep building, my friend. It's not an easy thing to do, but it is commendable. So keep grinding. Jason A-Team checking in. He says, J-Mac, we not dropping the world heavyweight title belt to anybody. Eagles will turn heel before that happens.
They're heels in plenty of cities. They're only baby faces locally. It's like Bret Hart in Canada versus Bret Hart in the United States when he was the biggest baby face and the biggest heel. But yeah, I mean they're a good team, but the chase is always more exciting than holding the championship. Remember that.
Sound like AJ Brown, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, well, it's always more exciting.
Wow. If the chase doesn't,
you're always chasing in football, like I just said. You're not defending, you're reigning. So you're always chasing. And that's, you'll read about this in the coming weeks, coming up pretty soon. That's Nick Sirianni's whole messaging this year. He's sort of put a soft ban on the word repeat, which you'll hear about in the upcoming weeks. But, you know, it's human nature to think that way. And if you think that way, you're probably not going to repeat because you got to grind through just like you did last year.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. John, with the Reed Blankenship conversation, I want to get back into it a little bit. The one thing that is looming there, and you mentioned it just here at the start of the show with the contract coming up, is I do think there are people out there who wonder, you know, are they going to extend him? Is he the guy that they want? Will they pay him? They just let Gardner Johnson, you know, they traded him, and that was a pretty reasonable contract. They've shed money kind of along that defense this year to try and get cheaper for presumably what's to come in terms of contracts. You have Reed Blankenship making the cut. I happen to agree with you, and I think he will make the cut as well. But I can understand why somebody would say, really, we're paying Reed Blankenship when we got to pay all these other guys? But I don't know. How do you see that whole thing playing out? And you mentioned you might get done, you think, before week 1, which I think would be pretty bold, but could happen.
No, I don't think it'll be bold at all. I mean, he's eligible for an extension. I thought he'd be extended already, to be honest. But if you see the history, it's happened a couple times, most recently with Jordan Mailata, I think, when they do it right a day or two before the start of the regular season. They have a history of doing that, sort of to give a little jolt before, and he would be the candidate for that to happen. Now, it might get done before that as well. But it is more complicated when you think about, all right, where does he land on the list of safeties? And I looked at Cam Bynum, who signed with the Colts this offseason, because similar age, Cam's 27, coming off his rookie deal, but he was a fourth round pick, I think. Turned into a pretty good playmaker. But I think Reed's better. And he got 4 years, 60. We know, obviously. Just talking about average annual value. Obviously, guaranteed money's all that matters. But so to me, he deserves that or more, or a little bit more. But because he's undrafted, that complicates things. And that's what he has to fight for. His agency has to fight for. Will he get that? I doubt it, even though he deserves it. So Cam got 26 million fully guaranteed, 30 million in total guarantees. It's got to be in that range, which isn't, when you look at it from an average annual value standpoint, it's 15 million. I'm running down the list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th highest paid safety. He belongs in that category. It's not going to get Kirby Joseph money or Antoine Winfield money or Derwin James.
But belonging in the category, I don't think is the question. I think we all appreciate, how good the player has been, but will the Eagles be willing to pay it? Is I think a bigger.
Well, I think they'll get a little bit of a discount, but yeah, I think they've determined that he should be one of the guys getting paid. So we'll see where it lands. But I think they'll get a little bit of a discount and take advantage of the undrafted tag. And we'll see what it looks like. I'm just saying that's what I'd be fighting for. Do they want to go that high? Probably not. So, he could always bet on himself like Milton did. They wanted to get Milton Williams extended. Don't kid yourself.
Yeah, right. Milton was smart and played the risky route, but it paid off for him.
Yeah. So from the standpoint, he may bet on himself. But the Eagles want to get him done. I can tell you that pretty concretely. That doesn't mean they will get it done, but they want to get him done. But similar, and Milton really hit a grand slam. They were probably trying to extend him at 10 million a year or something like that.
Yeah, he's now making 28 or 27, whatever it was.
So if Reed plays well again, he wants to bet on himself. They reach another Super Bowl. They win another Super Bowl. He's a big part of the defense again. That's a possibility. You have to throw it out there.
I agree. What do you think of this comment? Slagger, what's up, Slagger? Hope you're doing well, brother. One of our best supporters here. He says, Reed Blankenship is getting paid because he runs the secondary on the field and he's DeJean's homie. They are not effing with that duo. They are buddy for sure, Slagger. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I think it does help.
Yeah, I don't think the Cooper friendship and the Exciting Mike's podcast has got all that much to do with it.
Well, I don't know, because I do think that, and I think the Eagles have shown a propensity to care about this, more than other teams, and I think they're right to. I think they do care about locker room chemistry and stuff like that. Well,
they definitely care about rock.
We talked about Nakobe Dean recently, and like one way I could see Nakobe coming back is if the Eagles are like, he's worth $6 or $7 million because I want to keep all the Georgia boys together, especially if Jordan Davis is going to be here. Jordan Davis and Nakobe are, close. You can, at least it seems from the outside that they're very close. I'm not saying they would do that, but I think it matters to them a little bit, the chemistry in the locker room.
Well, I think the chemistry matters a lot to them, and they're one of the best teams at navigating. But there are many issues. Like Slay's a big part of this, and they made a business decision. They will make a business decision at some point. Now, did they handle that better? Sure, than most teams, to say the least. But they do it, and they did it a bunch this offseason. They Isaiah Rodgers was a big. Everybody they lost was a big part of it. Everybody, even when you start talking about the background players like Isaiah Rodgers, who was very popular in the locker room, Warren Burks, who became sort of a pseudo leader in the locker room because of his presence in the league. And maybe that hurt him from coming back, but it was more to do with 2 years versus 1 year in his contract. They make business decisions all the time. You have to make business decisions. Dallas was out the door. Dallas Goedert, he had to take a haircut to come back. Josh Sweat a couple of years ago had to do the same thing. They're not happy with that. Trust me. So the Eagles make business decisions. It's not like they're just willy-nilly. And like I said, if he wants to bet on himself because let's use my example and say he says what I say, that Cam Bonham and his agent, he's better than Cam Bonham. He should get paid more than Cam Bonham. And he stands on that. Well, then maybe the Eagles have to say, you know what? All right, we'll play out the season, see what happens. And maybe he prices himself out like Milton did. Happens all the time. I think people just overlook it because they've been so successful. They still, yes, they value chemistry more than most teams, and they do a better job. But every single year, there are important people in that locker room that leave.
Right.
None more so than the retirements, which is out of their hands, than Jason Kelsey and Brandon Graham. And then people have to step up, and they've done a good job with that. And they always have a keen eye on that. But generally, they're going to make good business decisions and not just acquiesce because of chemistry.
So it won't supersede the business decision, but it is something that could bolster, their reasons to pay the player. That's kind of how I see that.
Yeah, but they'll have they always have a demarcation line. Like Dallas, that's where it was. If he would have balked, he'd be gone. And the same will be true. The same was true with Milton Williams. They had a number in mind. He said, you know what? And he was correct. I'm worth more than that. You'll see. And Reed could, in theory, do the same thing, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Reed Blankenship. We'll see. Contract coming up. Big year coming up for Reed Blankenship. Heading into, what is he? This will be his, fourth years? Is it his fourth year, fifth year?
Fourth
year, right? Yeah, fourth year for Reed Blankenship. So good stuff there on him. Appreciate everybody being here this morning. Hit that like button. It looks like our normal names have returned in the chat. I don't know what the heck YouTube is doing. So good to see everybody back in here where I recognize everybody. Kakoa, Jason A. Team's in here. Cody K, Slagger, Deshay, Wayne the Pain, Scott Squad. Yo, Scott, sorry, man. I forgot to read your supers yesterday to Johnny Mack. I owe you, man. I'm sorry for that. So Scott checks in today. He says, side topic, did you guys hear about the owner collusion? Yeah, we did talk about it last week, Scott, a little bit.
Yeah, we talked about it on the show. Get in the weeds. They were not, it's not collusion, number one. It was a grievance filed by the Players Association. So they weren't guilty of collusion, which is more of a legal term. And it wasn't even a legal case. It was a grievance between the union and the league. And it's a little bit more complicated than that. But basically, it's sort of like guardrails, I would say, that you try to set up with a collective bargaining agreement. So you have all these grievances. 9 times out of 10, you don't even hear about them. And the arbiter will decide, all right, this is what happened. This is what needs to happen. And also try to set up guidelines so the similar situation can't come back. But from the standpoint, from a fan standpoint, and the thing that Florio ran with was the idea of not wanting fully guaranteed contracts. Yeah, that's 100% true. They never want fully guaranteed contracts. Now, first round picks all get fully guaranteed contracts now. I think a lot of people don't realize that, but those are for lesser money on a scale. 4 years, they're okay with that. But the Deshaun Watson contract was a big issue within the league and what Cleveland did there, and it didn't work out. But again, it didn't work out because the player didn't work out. It didn't work out because the evaluation was wrong. But they don't want fully guaranteed contracts for a number of reasons. Most notably the injury rate in the NFL. You can imagine if you pay a massive contract and somebody gets injured, they can no longer play. That could hamstring an organization for years and years and years. So it's a fight back and forth. But yeah, I think there was a lot of misinformation on that, to put it mildly.
Yeah, I'll never forget when that happened. The Deshaun Watson contract. That was the day of the Maxwell Awards, Johnny Mac. I was in the back room. That was the day I met Jordan Davis. I was in the back room with our old buddy Tone DeShields, and that news broke. And he's like, he looks at me, he's like, "Holy shit, are you seeing this?" It's fully guaranteed. At the time, it was crazy contract when that thing came down. So yeah, I think that was a big thing for the owners, but good stuff there, Scott Squad. I think Jordan Davis won the Chuck Bednarik Award that year in 2021. That was Scott Squad again. Checks in. He says, "Sounds like the NFLPA isn't doing the players."
Yeah, well, that's the bigger, and I mentioned that, Scott. To me, the bigger story is the union, not the league. Everybody knows what the league is doing. The union not fighting as hard for their players as they probably should, as you know, for years in sports, Major League Baseball has had the strongest union, and they do a really good job for their players. The NBA as well. The NFL has lagged behind pretty consistently, and to me, that's the bigger story, that they aren't fighting. You know, but it's all framing too. I just mentioned. You know, part of the problem, and I just mentioned Cam Bynum talking about Reed. Well, again, when somebody like that signs, what do you see when Schefter or Jordan Schultz or Ian are fed the information? What do you see? 4 years, $60 million. Well, it's not really 4 years, $60 million. Most NFL contracts are 2 years and then he can get out of it. Most. Obviously, there's some quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson. There's some exceptions. But most are unless you're a really big time, heavy hitter, most are 2-year contracts. So if you frame it that way and the agents would act honestly and say, well, he's got $26 million fully guaranteed, to use Cam Bynum. It's a 2-year deal for $26 million total guarantees, fully guaranteed.
Right.
So if you want to frame it back, if you want to scale it back to, you can only sign guys to 2-year contracts and frame it correctly, everybody would have fully guaranteed contracts. Labeling is a big problem in the NFL.
Really.
How many times have I said that?
It's like every level of the game, too, and labeling is an issue. But good stuff there. All right, that's the Reed Blankenship segment. He comes in at number 15 on the top 25 list. We'll see what Reed gets paid. What are your guys' contract projections in the chat? How many millions is Reed Blankenship getting per year? Drop it in the chat below. I want to thank all of you guys. Keith Johnson, good to see you in here, brother. Blitzkrieg, John Secunda. What's up, Secunda? Scott Squad's in here. Twisted Jig. Appreciate all of you guys. Hit that like button for us. We'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk a little Saquon Barkley. We'll do that. And then we got Chris Franklin coming up in hour number 2. So we'll talk to Chris Franklin coming up in hour number 2. Appreciate all of you guys being here. Hit that like button. We'll be right back in 3 minutes on Birds 365.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Shot Takers and the tastemakers. Welcome to the viewfinders, the thrill seekers, and the night owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Thrill Seekers and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen. Give us follows on X at Zander Krause and at JF McMullen. We are inching closer, Johnny Mac. It is July 1st, 22 days till the Eagles report. Or is it 21 days? 22 days until they're on the football field. Man, 3 weeks away, man. So in 3 weeks from now, the Eagles will be on the football field. July 4th will be in the rearview mirror, and we'll all be turning our sights toward the football season. So it's happening very quick here, Johnny Mac, for this team to get back and not defend. But what did you – it's not defend. It's
they're the reigning champions.
They're the reigning champs. The reigning champs will take to the field again with their new iteration and try and go back and win another Super Bowl.
Yeah. There's probably 5 or 6 teams each year where you say, all right, that team's got a legitimate shot of making a run. And I would say the Eagles are still firmly in that conversation. So some concerns mainly on defense, I would say. I guess the biggest concern on offense has more to do with off the field, the constant churn. Now Kevin Patullo as the offensive coordinator and play caller, but on the field, it's, Tyler Steen replacing Mekhi Becton. That's it on the offensive perspective. Defensively, got a lot of bodies to replace and a lot of moving parts for what was the #1 defense. So long way to go, but starting in a good position, I would say.
Yep. Johnny Mac, I want to talk a little bit about Saquon Barkley today here. He's a guy that I don't want to say he's flying under the radar, but I think we all know how damn good Saquon Barkley is coming off the year that he had. But it was a big year. It was a big workload. It was a lot of yards. It was a lot of touches, a lot of games, and a lot of snaps. And if you look at the history and you look at, the way that some of the 2,000-yard runners that have come in the past have fared their following seasons, it would maybe give some Eagles fans some agita who think he's going to go back and have another 2,000-yard season. Coming off that historic 2K yard season, every game played, John, in 2024. How do you think the Eagles manage Barkley, or do they not manage him at all to keep him fresh? Will they dial it back, employ a running back rotation, any of those things, or do you think it's full systems go for Saquon Barkley when that season comes around?
No, full systems go. I think, I think they did a good job last year, to be honest. I think if you look at all the regular season games and that they were up late, they would rest them in the fourth quarter. They scaled back his workload during the week, and that's what Nick said about 100 times. We do the game management during the week, not in the game. And then the game he's probably said it a million times. He'll say it a million times more this year. If we got to run it 40 times, we'll run it 40 times. If we got to throw it 40 times, we'll throw it 40 times. So I think the nature of the game will help them this year. Typical schedule, probably closer games. That might mean more passing in the fourth quarter versus running where you're up so much. That could help out a little bit. They'll certainly win some games against some of the poorer teams on the schedule pretty handily, I expect. So you get some rest that way. But he's going to touch the ball a lot, and they're going to ride him until he can't go anymore. That's what they're going to do.
What are some of the alarming things that you think about, though, when you look at those 2,000-yard rushers? I know we've talked about the yards, and I've been using the thing you told me, John, is the reason it's all going to not matter is that he's got this Eagles offensive line, and most of the other 2,000-yard running backs didn't have an offensive line this good. So I'm holding that and hoping that that's good enough for Saquon to come back and duplicate or replicate what he did last year. But I do acknowledge it's a tough task, man. And you look at some of the other backs that have done it. It was a sharp decline for some of them after that because it's just a huge workload. That's just the way the NFL is, especially on running backs. How do they get around that?
I don't know. I don't know if you get around it. I mean, everybody's got in wrestling. We had the wrestling reference. They call it a bump card. Everybody's got a bump card. You take so many bumps until that's it, and your body gives out. It's what NFL running backs have. They have a bump card, and they're human beings. And I always say my favorite running back ever to watch was Earl Campbell. And anybody wants to watch some YouTube clips of Earl Campbell, different era where you could be more physical. But I've never seen a running back deliver. He would deliver the punishment. He wouldn't take the punishment. And he's paying for it now, later in his life. It has been. Everybody's got a bump card. Saquon Barkley's no different. Does keep himself in tremendous shape. But this has always been short term, and the Eagles are going to take advantage of that short term as much as they possibly can.
Yeah.
There's this mentality of, we'll extend his career for 5, 6, 7. It ain't happening. So you might as well take advantage of the height, which they were able to do already, and they'll try to do it again this year. The concern has to be if he is injured, then do you have enough behind him?
No.
And that's well, no. Well, obviously you don't replace players like Saquon Barkley. You don't replace players.
I'd have felt a little better with Kenny Gainwell.
Well, that's my point. Can you persevere? Like, you can't replace AJ. You can't replace Lane. You can't replace Jordan. You can't replace Jalen. both
Yeah.
Jalen's. You can't replace them, but can you persevere? And some of those positions, they're better equipped to persevere than running back, I would say. But we'll see. People, for whatever reason, I'm shocked they've given up on Will Shipley, at least a small group, and A.J. Dillon. I don't know. I don't know what you have in A.J. Dillon. But yeah, I'd feel more comfortable with Kenny Gainwell.
Yeah, definitely. Since 2010, John, no running back has repeated as the NFL's rushing leader. How realistic is it for Barkley to try and buck that trend? I mean, I know he's a good player. I know he's got the great offensive line in front of him. I think he has all the pieces and maybe better pieces around him than many of the backs who came before him had. But that's no guarantee that he gets there.
Well, I would turn that back on you and the fans and say, who cares? Like, who cares? He's the NFL rushing champion. Who cares?
Oh no, I don't give a shit. But I think when he is that, it improves our team's chances at success.
Well, I mean, like if Derrick Henry had a couple more yards, because
I
in week 18, like it doesn't change. That's what I'm trying to say. So the actual NFL, will he repeat his NFL? Probably not. But who cares?
I'm more looking at that when I say that, repeat as NFLs. I'm more looking at impact. Like you said, if Derrick Henry gets a couple more yards, I'm not going to sit here and cry about it, but I'm looking for that type of impact.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's still going to have a massive impact. Yeah. So that's the concern. And will he be healthy? You also have to be healthy to be the NFL rushing, which he was for an entire season. So to me, will he be impact? And he might be impactful in a different way. He might be impactful in things have changed this year to the point of last year, really. And I always talk about the NFL. It's a copycat league, but it's a very slow moving copycat league. And really, you can argue until Steve Spagnuolo in the Super Bowl, nobody really shifted to say, we're going to stop Saquon Barkley first and foremost with the Eagles offense. I think people were still more worried about A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith for most of the season. This year, I think it shifts to, again, the slow moving copycat, which is, all right, we got to stop Saquon. Like the Rams. I mean, the Rams are the perfect example of this. They got gouged in Los Angeles during the regular season, like really gouged. And they didn't change in the playoffs. Now, maybe because they had a terrible linebacker situation, maybe they couldn't, but certainly didn't look like they went in with the impact of we have to stop Saquon Barkley. And they got gouged again. I think that changes. So maybe people pay more attention to Saquon Barkley this year, and that opens up things for AJ and Devontae in the passing game and Dallas. And he still has that big impact because you got to pick your poison. And that's what happened really in the championship game and more so in the Super Bowl, I would say, because they actually stopped him in the Super Bowl. But they couldn't stop the passing game because they were worried about stopping Saquon.
Do you expect more of that this year? Like defenses try and play the Eagles like that, even if they saw that obviously the game is capable? I still think they're going to opt to get rid of to take away the run game if they're going to opt to take away anything.
Yeah, but they didn't do that last year. That's why I brought up the copycat. They didn't do that.
Well,
I do think
I was saying the Chiefs did in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Yeah.
Well, no, that's what I'm asking.
Until the Chiefs did it in the Super Bowl. And yes, I think more teams will do it this year. I think more teams will shift to, all right, we're gonna force Jalen Hurts to beat us than last year, which is more of, all right, go ahead, run the ball. Because I think the mentality is, if you run the ball, when I talk about most NFL teams take that as a gift, because I talk about the smaller margin of error. They're like, all right, you want to run the ball, you want to pound it, go ahead. That's what Big does. He's like, all right, we'll give up 4 or 5 yards. We don't give a shit.
All right.
That's what most teams think. The Eagles and the Ravens turn that on its head. And how many huge runs did Saquon have last year? Doesn't matter if the big play is in the running game or the passing game, but from a typical standpoint, with a typical running back, with a typical offensive line, you're begging teams to run the football. And that was the mentality. That is the mentality of this entire league. And I think the Eagles have shifted that, and teams will change against them. But we have to see it. It started in the Super Bowl. I think it will continue this season.
I agree. I agree. We'll see what the Eagles offense looks like, especially with Kevin Patullo coming in. I like what Dank says here. This is an Eagle fan take, but I agree with you, Dank. He says, make Jalen beat you, ? Be careful what you wish for. I agree with that.
Yeah, but people think, it's an insult. It's like, I'm just telling you what I think they're going to do.
That way, I think he was just saying in general that the league is in trouble, Johnny Mac.
Well, that's been the whole thought process of the Eagles offense for really 2 years. What do you do? Really, since in the Nick Sirianni era. Again, it shifted because Miles and DeAndre obviously aren't as good as Saquon, but they were pretty effective running the football with Miles and DeAndre because of the offensive line. And the whole thought process, well, what do you stop? What do you do? You got the receivers, you got the tight end, you got the running backs, you got the quarterback. What do you do? And that's been the disappointment with the offense. It's like 8th. Why is it 8th? Why is it 8th? It should be better. And it should be better. And we'll see if that's Kevin Patullo's lot in life. Because 8th isn't good enough. Unless you win the Super Bowl, it's fine. Then everybody masks it. It's hilarious. Look at the difference. They finished 8th in 2023 and they finished 8th last year. Everybody thinks last year was great. Everybody thinks 2023 was a disaster. Winning cures everything. It's a cliche for a reason.
Well, is it a correct cliche? Should it? It should cure everything, shouldn't it? It's a fucking goal out there. What's the goal? Win. If we win, then.
Well, yeah, but you don't want the Eagles thinking that way, and they don't.
No, well, yeah. I mean, I think there's always things you can.
I mean, I from the Eagles standpoint, they know their offense was good enough in 2023. Their defense wasn't good enough. That was the problem. If their defense, if they had the number 1 defense in 2023, you might be talking about a 3-peat, which would also be banned. But their defense was atrocious. You think if Sean Desai was here last year, that offense is winning the Super Bowl? Or Saquon Barkley runs for 2,504 yards? Complimentary football, people. Complimentary football.
Was a big part of the team last year for sure. Rashid Mixon checking in. What's up, Rashid? He says, good morning, fellas. We were a powerhouse 22 and 23 on offense with the other running backs. Can any running backs on 2025 teams be Miles or Swift if Barkley goes down? That's what we just talked about a little bit. I don't see it, Rashid.
Well, I think if Will Shipley plays 17 games behind this offensive line, which, my biggest question was, could he play 17 games in the regular season? But if he did, would he get 1,000 yards? Yes. Yes. A.J. Dillon? Yes. Would it be nearly as impactful as Saquon Barkley? No. But yes, I mean, this offensive line, Montrell Johnson could get 1,000 yards. Undrafted rookie. If he was forced to play 17 games, 20-point scorer on a bad NBA team, man. Somebody's got to get those yards. And yes, would they make the Pro Bowl? Probably not. Now I don't want
Will Shipley running for over 1,000 in this offense.
Oh my God, yeah. I just said Montrell Johnson would.
Oh no, John, I can't say that, dude.
Do you know what 1,000 yards, if you're healthy, is
Probably
in the modern
50 yards
NFL?
a game, 60 yards a game.
It's ridiculous. Like, who cares about 1,000 yards? It's 58.8 yards per game. You're telling me if he's behind that, and this is Will Shipley again, for some reason, the disrespect for Will Shipley is real. A.J. Dillon, Montrell Johnson, you're telling me if they're forced to play and they play 17 games behind that offensive line, with that quarterback, who, by the way, is taking some of the defensive attention away, you're telling me they can't get to 1,000 yards?
Shipley?
But first of all, Will Shipley's the second best running back on this team.
I agree with that.
So if you think A.J. Dillon can do it, and you think Montrell Johnson can do it, and you don't think Will Shipley can do it.
I don't think A.J. Dillon could do it either.
If he's out there for 17 games, that's the problem with A.J. Dillon. Is he healthy? I don't know if he's healthy.
Probably
I'm saying
the least impactful 1,000 yards one could get would be those 1,000 yards.
Well, that's possible. I'm not arguing that. But it's not hard to get 1,000 yards if you are the lead back in the NFL. And it becomes even less hard if you're behind the Eagles' offensive line. I mean, I don't think there's a running back. Keelan Robinson, they picked him up on waivers. He's not even a running back. He's a kick returner. I think he could get to 1,000 if he were forced to play, which he won't be. Like, I don't want to say anyone, but anyone could get 1,000 yards behind this offensive line if they were given the touches. That might not be impactful, like you said, but they can get that stupid number that everybody holds in such high value.
Why is Will Shipley on my shit list, John?
I don't know. He's a really good player. You're going to be surprised by Will Shipley.
Yeah, he jumped into my shit list pretty quick. I'm not really sure why, to be honest.
Because he got chased down in the NFC Championship, which is hilarious to me.
Might be that.
It was a 50.
I can't exactly pinpoint it.
I think it was a 57-yard run. 57-yard run, and the burst he showed behind that. People are crazy. But Kenny Gainwell was here for 4 years. He didn't have a 50-yard run. So people are shitting on a guy because he had a 57-yard run and didn't get in the end zone because an NFL defensive back chased him down. So Will runs a 4.39, and the D-back probably ran a 4.35. And they're shitting on him. And Kenny wasn't able to do that for 4 years. I don't get it.
You think Will Shipley's better than Gainwell?
I think he's got the potential to be. My problem with Will is, A, he's a good receiver, but you're never going to see that in this offense. We've been through that road. Kenny was a good receiver. Kenny's developed into a pretty good pass protector, at least as far as the modern NFL goes, for running backs, because not many pass protect very well. And Will's in that category. Like, there will be some moments where it'll look brutal with Will Shipley trying to pick up the blitz, I think. That is a concern for me. But that's rich people problems. There are like 10 running backs in the NFL who do a decent job in pass protection. They're not taught in college.
Yeah, no, it's part of the new age of football and of the NFL, no doubt. Would A.J. Dillon get 1,000 yards?
Oh yeah, I said every single one of them, if they're healthy. and they get the touches. Montrell Johnson. Sometimes I wonder if you listen to me, Zander. I said this. H.A. Dillon, Montrell Johnson. Will Shipley.
Well, I'm not buying that. Montrell fucking Johnson's getting 1,000 yards.
If you give him 20 carries a game, he will get 1,000 yards behind this offensive line. They might not be impactful, and it'll never happen because 3 guys got to get injured. But everybody in that running room is capable of getting 1,000 yards behind this offensive line. What they're not capable of doing is getting 2,504. And they're not capable of breaking up 70-yard runs at a moment's notice. But 1,000 yards, it's nothing. It's 58 yards a game. Lane Johnson might get 58 yards a game.
No, because then you would remove your right tackle. He ain't getting shit without a good right tackle.
You run, yeah. So
I don't know. I don't feel like that. But listen, if you're confident in it, that's an all power to you. We'll see what ends up happening.
Well, it's never going to happen, obviously.
Oh no. But if Saquon did go down, I mean, the conversation would come up.
Well,
yeah.
I said if Will Shipley's the lead back, he'll get 1,000 yards, and he plays the whole season. And that means an injury in training camp, which you don't want. But and will it be impactful? 1,000 yards, probably not. But he'll get there.
Park checks in. He says the Eagles have the perfect storm. When they repeat, they will have 21 or more draft picks next season to three-peat.
We're already talking about the three-peat. Yeah, they have a lot of draft picks.
They do. And they have drafted well. So I can see why fans would think that they're in a good position with those draft picks.
You got to win 2 before you can win 3.
Well, that I agree with.
I see Nick Sirianni's salt ban. Nick Sirianni's salt ban is not extended to the fan base. Yeah, they have a lot of draft picks, and Howie's done a good job in the draft. So, yeah, I mean, at some point you might have too many because they still have a bunch of young players. So, maybe he'll shift gears to targeted trade up to get the players he really wants and use that capital that way. Because, they have a lot of they're one of the youngest teams in football. And the goal is to keep this core together for as long as possible. But, and they had 10 picks this year. And Howie doesn't like cutting his picks. Maybe to a little bit of a detriment. Because we're going to see this year, there's 8 day 3 picks. 8. Can you keep them all on the 53? Boy, I think they're going to try.
We'll see. Sig Lord checks in. What up, Sig Lord? Hope you're doing good, brother. He says J-Mac could beat Shipley in a sprint. Like, damn, bro, it's only 100 yards.
The guy runs a 4.39. Sig Lord, I guarantee, man, you don't know what 4.39 means.
Sig Lord, fresh off a fresh cigarette, it ain't running no 4.39.
The guy ran a 4.39 at the combine. It's verifiable. 4.39. He ran 57 yards in an NFL game. Look at the run. Look at the explosion up the middle. What is wrong with you people? Seriously. The guy's got a 38.5-inch vertical leap. What is the deal?
He's like a Ben Van Sumeren to you. You freaking love Will Shipley.
Oh, you should get no. Actually, DeCecco loves Will Shipley. He's the Will Shipley guy. I like I said, pass protection, I got big issues with. What I don't have issues with is his speed. Like, that's the least of your issues. Anytime you run,
does he need to pick up a Peloton like Jordan Davis does?
Yeah, he's probably got to get a little bit stronger.
Well, I'm talking about more. Well, I guess
we talk about it's the same elephant in the room with Cooper. It's the same fucking elephant in the room with Cooper.
Well, because he's a white dude?
Yes.
Not for me, but maybe other people.
I'm talking about other people. It's so dumb.
Well, I'm a Will Shipley doubter, and I'm telling you, it's not because he's a white dude. It's just I just don't think he's gonna be that great. I don't know. I just don't.
He's a 4th round pick. You know, he's supposed to be Kenny Gainwell. He's the replacement for Kenny Gainwell. I'm not saying he's going to be Saquon Barkley. He's a 4th round pick. He's already a competent NFL player. I mean, so I guess I don't understand the expectations on a 4th round pick. The same thing will happen this year with Ty Robinson. I don't understand the expectations of a 4th round pick with some people.
Well, I don't really have expectations. That's the difference. I'm just more talking in hypothetical about if Saquon did go down. I don't really. I wouldn't.
Well, if Saquon went down last year, if AJ Brown goes down, are you comfortable?
No.
If Saquon, why would you be comfortable if Saquon went down? You don't replace Saquon Barkley with another Saquon Barkley. I mean, you don't even replace a Miles Sanders with another Miles Sanders in his prime. I'm not talking about Miles today, but Miles when he was here making.
What about Miles going to do in Dallas this year?
He's 3-4 years off being a Pro Bowl, but when he was here, he's a Pro Bowl running back. They didn't have somebody replace Miles Sanders. They didn't have somebody replace DeAndre Swift. I mean, backups are backups for a reason. And you have good backups and you have bad backups. Will's a pretty good backup. I think that's what he's going to be. That's my belief with Will Shipley. He's going to be a pretty good backup player. Yeah. Not that he's going to replace Saquon fucking Barkley.
No, I know that. Well, speaking of that big run too, I mean, if you go back and look at the offensive line on that run, it would support your point that anybody could get 1,000 yards.
Well, also look at
was like well,
you could say that about. Hey, guess what? You could say that about half of.
Yeah, no, I'm saying to your point, it adds up to your point of anybody can get 1,000 yards behind this line.
Well, the 1,000 yards behind is more to do with the mathematics of 58 yards a game. If you're getting the football 20 times a game behind that offensive line, you're getting 58 yards.
Right.
And I believe that of Montrell Johnson. But, Montrell, and I bring up, he was a pretty good college back at Florida, which did more of a, they split they had a split back system. They had a real rotation, that type of thing. So a lot of people thought he'd be drafted, but he didn't have starter numbers because they split the reps. But he was a very good college running back at a pretty big school. Florida isn't what it once was, but that's SEC football. 800 yards last year. He got hurt, and that was part of the reason too. But he averaged 5.9 yards per carry. Most people, if you look at the Dane Bruglers of the world, and would say was going to get drafted on day 3, 4th, 5th round pick. Again, SEC player, made a ton of big plays at Florida. He ran a 4.41. Now, I would bet 97. Well, Montrell Johnson's faster than Will Shipley because of the elephant in the room. Well, he's not. But I can't control people's thought processes when it comes to that stuff. Other than if Cooper doesn't prove to you that he's an athlete, I can't help you. If Will Shipley can't prove to you he's an athlete, I can't help you. But you're muted.
All right, everybody. We're launching the Will Shipley jersey giveaway this year. Instead of Saquon, we're going to give away Will Shipley. Would everybody be happy receiving Will Shipley jerseys?
Well, I don't think everybody will be happy by that. So. You guys have shit on him so much, they think he's a bad football player.
Let me get to the break. We got Chris Rankin coming up. I didn't realize the time sneaking up on us. Brian Fleming checking in, member for 8 months. Appreciate it, brother. He says, J-Mac looks great in the bluish gray today. A welcome deviation from the pallbearer blackout. No Diddy. Shout out JAKIB Nation.
And more of the humidity. I just want a t-shirt today because it's so freaking hot.
Yeah.
So humid.
The J-Mac signature black shirt is a good one, though.
Well, often they're navy blue. You can't tell maroon, but, you know, everything looks the same on here.
Yeah, it's true. And the green screen limits the coloring abilities behind J-Mac. Yeah,
can't go.
Look, here's Decoy. I take a Shipley jersey. Wayne the Pain. I'm in on Shipley. Twiz is looking for a Twiz, I'll make sure when your name is pulled, I'll put the A.J. Brown jersey away. I'll put the Saquon jersey away. I'll put the Hurts jersey away. And I'll get a
Oh, this is one I should say, you know, because, you know, often the trolls are the loudest. So I think the vast majority, and I fall victim to this like most people. I think the majority of Eagles fans like Will Shipley.
Yeah, I agree.
But the trolls are always the loudest.
And I've gotten it. It's a little bit of an echo chamber here, or a little just because I don't like Will, so it's more me. It's not the fans. You don't blame the fans. It's more me. I'm not a Will Shipley guy. I don't really know why, but I'm just not. Just don't say it. But we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. Good stuff, everybody. Appreciate you all being here. Twiz the Jigga. I got you written down for the Shipley jersey. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate all of our chats today. Good stuff, everybody. Let's get to our commercial break. We got the great Chris Franklin coming up next here on Birds 365 back in 3.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Shot Takers and the Tastemakers. Welcome to the Viewfinders, the Thrill Seekers, and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand.
Thank you.
We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone and Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Thrill Seekers, and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365 here on Bobby Bonilla Day. He gets his payment today, $1.93 million from the New York Mets, one of the greatest stories in all of sports. And another great story here is that we're joined by Chris Franklin here on Birds 365. You can follow him at C Franklin News and read all his work at NJ.com. Chris, how you doing, brother? Good to see you back on Birds 365. It's been a minute. I hope everything is good on your end, my friend.
Yeah, everything's doing well. It's doing even better for Bobby Bonilla. Every year he just looks smiles in that bank account.
I just want one Bobby Bonilla day. I'll take one, Chris. Just one. I don't need 30 or whatever it is. I need one. I need
10%. Give me like 3%. I'll be fine with that. That'd be cool.
Just one Bobby Bonilla day. Yeah, it's a great story. The goofball New York Mets, and now it's a different ownership group who has to pay him every single year. I think there's only 10 years left. Only 10 years left. I'd like to have one, but that's the way. But you were up in Allentown this weekend for the big Devontae Smith softball game. Anything interesting you culled from the trip up to the Lehigh Valley?
Yeah, I thought there's a couple things. I thought that when you speak to, it was good seeing some of the former guys, Isaiah Rogers, and also Darius Slay, and some of the current guys as well too, John Campbell, Cooper Jean. They all were there for Devontae Smith. I thought the one thing was that Andrew Makuba has really stood out to a couple of guys. Devontae Smith mentioned him as a rookie that stood out for. Had a chance to get to talk to Jahad Campbell Battle, who spoke. Well, obviously he's going to speak only as a teammate, but sometimes you hear teammates speak where you go, well, yeah, he's a good guy. Now this guy, the fact that he speaks highly, he sees the two of them being around for years and really being impacted. When he says he's acting like a grown man right now in that locker room, and which is for a rookie, like, all right, it's pretty cool. So
yeah.
You got that.
My only concern with Makuba is the size, Chris. He's not very big, and I keep looking to say, and we say it all every year. At least I say it. It's like maybe it just doesn't matter anymore. The Eagles are undersized all over their defense, from the front to the backside, and Makuba is really small to be a full-time safety in this league, at least by traditional sort of methods. But guess what? It didn't hurt him last year. And I always say this: the Eagles defense was better than their offense last year. Number one in the NFL, one of the great Super Bowl performances of all time. But they could not stop the Eagles offense, because the Eagles offense would bully the shit out of them. That's my theory. You believe that?
Well, I also think when you look at it too, like they might get away with it until the whole thing goes cyclical. We all know how the NFL goes cyclical when it comes to thinking and everything else. And we're still in that 3, 4, 5 wide receiver pass, throw. So you don't need to worry about the bully ball of fullback for a lot of majority of teams, a fullback running up the middle, or you got these 2, 3 tight ends. We're going to run the ball right at you, H-back type of system. So you can get away with some of that as well too. And the fact that he's able to roll down into the slot if he needs to as well too, he's that versatile. I think you get away with it. If it was more, we're looking at say like 1990s football all over again, then you start to go, okay, maybe we start to look at him as a nickel or what have you. But I think they can get away with that in terms of that. But size-wise, getting that one, dude, I think size-wise aside, I think he's going to be all right, especially if you're going to use those coverages. For me, the only thing I'm looking at is, we all know safeties in the system. How quickly can he adapt to it and not having to think, oh, I have to be matched up down here, so I'm doing this. Next thing you know, that takes off that 0.2 of a second to cover, and we all know what happens. We don't have that. So that's the only thing I'm waiting to see, how quickly he can get down and just let his natural ability take over.
Yeah, I'm curious to see it, Chris. I want to ask you, who are you most confident in, and then who are you most concerned in when it comes to the replacements on defense? We obviously just talked about Makuba. He's presumably going to replace C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Maybe Sidney Brown wins it. You got obviously replacements for Milton Williams and Josh Sweat. Obviously, you're going to have Jeremiah Trotter Jr. in there even to start the season. Who are you most confident in, and who are you looking at like, ooh, that could be an issue on that defense?
I still think for me, I'll start with the issue first. But for me, it's more of the unknown because you don't have like that established veteran right outside the cornerback who's going to be playing opposite of Quinyon Mitchell. And I still don't know if it's Healy, Sadori, if it's even Cooper on the outside. I know he's athletic and everything. I still like him on the inside for now because I think you do more with him. So yeah,
he's
Mr.
a star
Athletic.
now. He's a star.
Everywhere you look. Hey, who's here? Oh, turn around. Getting a young Kelsey level on that in terms of like when it comes to the media stuff. But yeah, I think that's more on the outside. I think, and I know a lot of people say when you look at the edge rushers, because there's not a lot, because you lost Sweat and BG retired. I still feel pretty confident in terms of that because we've seen Vic use those short man rotations, even though he kept saying even though they work a lot better with 4-5 guys on the edge on there. I still think you look at, I think Nolan Smith and Alex Hunt. I still have a lot. I have a lot of confidence, probably near overconfident in terms of their replacement in that production. I think Azeez Ojulari, I think can be a decent guy, and the fact that I don't think they're going to have to lean on him as much as the Giants tried to do, just back with their type of situation, that's what situation before they made their moves recently. I look at that as more of a thing like, okay, I have a little more confidence than I thought I would have there.
I feel better after the spring in Jalix because I was really concerned about the edge, and I like what I saw with Jalix. But I mean, you can't, Chris, you can't learn anything in the spring from physical positions. I like to go offensive line, defensive line, even running back. You really can't learn that much. It's just a glorified passing camp. But Jalix looked a little bit bigger. Looked of all the edge, I would say he looked the most, and maybe this makes sense because he used to play safety at Cornell. He looked, when Vic drops them into coverage, he looked the most comfortable with it because they usually look like fishes out of water when he asks those edge rushers to drop. So I like that kind of stuff. But boy, when I really think about it, people are skipping steps with Jalix Hunt, man. I mean, this guy was playing safety at Cornell 3 years ago. And I was reading, DeCecca wrote a nice piece on him. He's down in Houston, or he's going to be down in Houston working out after, July before training camp. And he shipped a bunch of protein shakes. The Eagles have told him to get bigger and stronger. Boy, man, those NFL left tackles, there are a lot of good ones. Luckily he doesn't have to go up against Jordan Mailata except in practice, but boy, and they got that old man strength where they're going to push those guys around. The more I think about it, maybe it's paralysis by overanalysis, but I do not like how that situation is developing. The edge rushers in Philadelphia.
I'm so cool that even when it comes to like the whole safety to edge rusher thing, I mean, a lot of times some of these guys are already used to it because they've had to deal with it already when they're going from high school to college. With some, I know, like they were lighting around like, hey, you're going to be a safety cornerback, and all of a sudden they have put more weight on now they're a linebacker, or they're a linebacker and now they're edge rusher, what have you, and having to readjust to those assignments and getting used to it, I think it's fine. I think he's got enough time now that he's kind of used to the edge rusher position, and now it's just like you mentioned, size wise, especially when it comes to those outside like runs when they have you and everything, getting the hands and not letting those guys get their hands in front of you. That's red. The run game is the only thing I look at Hunt and I think like, all right, cool. That's where you need to improve on and not get caught up on the inside. Let these guys get inside, and control you, and the next thing you know, they're going on the outside, your outside shoulder. So I look at him, and that's the only thing I think he has to work on his game. But overall, I think when it comes to just the comfortability of playing that position, what he can potentially do, and as mentioned, that being at safety, dropping those areas of curl flat, pretty much the same thing like he did at safety. So he's used to that. So
comfortable with that.
He's
definitely athletic enough. There's no doubt. I mean, he's And he's got the frame where he can add weight. Like Nolan Smith, he really doesn't have that frame. He's going to be 237, whatever he is. He's not going much higher. Jalix has the frame where he can add some size. And I'm very high on him. Don't get me wrong. I'm very high on him long term. I just think there might be some struggles early. Especially when you compare it to Josh Sweat, who was just, for whatever reason, because he didn't have huge sack numbers, people dismissed. He was a really good 3-down player for a long time here.
Yeah.
And he could do everything.
He was good. If they had a way, as well as if some buts or whatever, the saying is, all right, yeah, they had enough money. He's on my top thing. That's my top thing because he's much more ever can. But yeah, I think, are we going to see Sweat number? I think we can see early career Sweat numbers from Hunt. Maybe if you can get 5-6 sacks from him this year, I think that's a win. That is a complete win now. 5-6 sacks out of him. I think a lot of attention is going to go. I think you get a lot of your sacks this year, as we all know, with how deep they are in defensive tackle. I think that's where a lot of your sacks come from. And then eventually it's going to start out defensive tackle heavy and then go out to the edges when it comes to those numbers. So, yeah, I think it's, if you can get 6 from him, it's a good year. It's a good year, in my book.
Another guy I want to talk to you about on that defense is a guy who has become a superstar faster than anybody I can remember as a rookie, and that's Cooper DeJean. He wins the home run derby at the event this weekend. He's on the Jersey Shore and the pool floats out back, man. He's got the honeys all. I mean, Chris, this guy is a superstar. What do you expect from him in year 2? And do you think Vic could move him out of that slot? Because they do have questions at safety. They got those questions at corner that you talked about a little bit. Where do you think Cooper DeJean ends up being this year? And what do you see for him in year 2?
Yeah, you're right. When it comes to Cooper and everything else, I'm like, oh my goodness, he had like the second, third silent ovation all day. Everybody's going to he's up TO level. But when you look at the way DeJean is used, I think he's a Swiss Army knife. I think he's got that down now. So I think he's primarily still going to be a cornerback per se. I think they try him out more on the right side. I still think I'd keep him inside. He's going to be on the field all the time. He's going to be on the field at all, no matter what.
He's going to be outside in base, but they never play base. So why is it called base, Chris? If they never play
what
base,
was the percentage of time they were in base last year?
They were in, I don't know the percentage, but Vic said 160 times. That's it.
Yeah. No, because once again, nobody runs. Nobody runs the ball. So you're like, okay, you don't take them off. So you'll see, thankfully, teams still use all 3 wide receivers. So I think he starts in the nickel part there through that. And then I think if you see a little, depending on the situation, if you have a team with that like uses tight end heavy, maybe they roll him out outside a little bit more. The safety part, I can see him using a little bit as well too, but I don't know if I want to keep him that far away from the line of scrimmage. I think he does his instincts, even when it comes to helping with run support, when it comes to his wide receiver screens. I like him. I just want him as close to the line of scrimmage as possible. To some of these wide receivers, I think his skill set sets up that way as well too. So we're going to see him everywhere, and I think it's going to be nothing back out of it. I think it's going to be team specific. If you like the Cowboys, where you start to see like your wide receivers and everything, I think you see him more stays in the nickel. If you get a run heavy team, maybe you see him a little bit on the outside, maybe you see him a little bit on the outside. You bring another safety in, and then you roll with that. But I wouldn't be surprised too if, hey, maybe he gets some snaps of safety if there's some struggles early on. But I think he's going to stay nickel outside, team specific.
I thought it was interesting because Vic said the same thing about Zach Bond. It kind of depends on the other guys where he plays, Mike or Will. In the case of Zach, he said the same thing about Cooper. It depends on the other guys. They have the utmost confidence that they know he can play the slot. We've all seen it, that he can play outside and he can play at safety. Long term, it's going to be tough to keep him in the slot for contract reasons, business reasons, whatever you want to call it. But I'm starting to warm up long term the thought of him at safety, because you can have a bigger impact on the game at safety than you can playing outside corner, where you're dependent. You're on one side. If they're throwing to the other side, you're not involved. Safety, you can get involved a little bit more. So 3 years down the road, where do you think Cooper's going to be? He's not going to be in the slot.
That's where you, but also, I look, see, I think if I'm his age, I'm saying you're playing outside corner. Got this look at the money.
Yeah.
And now you got to have playing him. But then, like you mentioned, you play him on the outside, you're taking him away half of the field, but it doesn't matter. If you got Quignon playing well, you got who playing well on the outside, then you can get away with that. And you're good that way. But I think overall, with his side and everything else long term, I think he's more of I think safety. You're right. I think on that one because you can do a little bit more. But I think contract wise though, and we all know money talks.
Yeah.
I think he winds up on the outside eventually because they're going to have to pay him eventually. If he keeps going on this trajectory, his name's going to be way too good. And he's using safety stuff like that. So I think he's going to be on the corners. His agent's going to start going, hey, you know what? Hoop's doing really well, especially after this year. Hoop's doing really well on the outside. You know, I think that you can get a lot more value out there. Stay out there a little bit more.
Yeah, I see it with the NBA. NBA free agency started yesterday, and the NBA is worse than the NFL. But boy, the business part of it sucks because it really overwhelms the sporting part of it. And it's like you'd like to keep just Cooper inside. You know, he's the best slot corner in football. But he's not going to make as much money. Like, I mean, I guess the Eagles could wake up and say, well, he's so valuable, we'll pay him like an outside corner, but it doesn't work that way.
And two things based off what you said there. First off, I still know to this day why the NFL players don't have a strong, if not the strongest union based on the popularity of it. As they're not going to never be baseball, but they should be around NBA level. You know, they demand some stuff, but I never said that. But you're right. Like you look, they're going to have to pay him. I think they start putting a bug in the ear of their agent. They can't do it yet, nowhere close to doing it yet. But they start putting a bug in the agent's like, well, we projected around this one here. Just floating it off. Would you think that's fair? So they start floating around and stuff like that and talks there. But yeah, it's going to be tough to keep. He's not going to be a nickel corner anytime soon. I think you can also find a nickel replacement a lot easier now than you could a couple of years ago, and probably use a lot of draft picks later on to find somebody who can develop into that.
That's the part where I kind of push back on him. Like, there's not a ton of good slot corners in the NFL, but part of the reason why is because I think they don't value them. So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like, well, we'll throw our third best corner in the slot, and he plays like shit because nobody has good corners. Yeah, it's weird. It's the whole system is weird.
I think it goes back to college because I think a lot of times you can see how much if you have too many, if you start to develop these guys more these outside corners more into the inside the slot in college, because college they keep everything mostly simplistic as they can because they're not having any time to do that. They kept some of these guys more there. I think a lot of these guys, if some of these players demanded while playing the slot more, I think they can make more money that way because of the problem issues they have right now in terms of that. I think a lot of times you draft all these outside corners, we're going to move on the inside, and it takes that time. I think if you just use some of these programs, start putting them in the inside, they can start pointing and say, hey, look, we developed these guys very well. Look at this come here. Then it helps the college program, helps the NFL.
Yeah, but you know, those I never blame the college guys because their job is not to make players NFL ready. They have to win at their own level or they're going to lose their jobs. So I blame the NFL people. They always complain about that. Well, they're not developing offensive line. They're not developing quarterbacks. That's what the Eagles have done well, Chris. They develop players well. You don't just draft good players. You got to develop them.
Yeah. I think a lot of some of these guys too, that when you see the teaching in aspect as well too, I think a lot of guys who spent a lot of time in college, like Stout, when he was Alabama, Michigan State, and all stuff, like guys like that. Who,
Reed Blankenship played for he was a 5-year starter at Middle Tennessee State.
Oh yeah, that's what's like. There's so many things you can develop. Like So all teaching, I think a lot of teaching happens. It's a lot of teaching happens in college that too. So they're both sides. I think can do a lot better in terms of the college because it's basically right now. So it might as well be minor league football. Might as well be.
Well, it
And
is now that they
yeah,
pay them.
that one too. So yeah, there's some things that get better.
Yeah. Speaking of Reed, the Blue Raiders, the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders, is he going to get a contract extension before week 1? The Eagles like to do that, Chris. They did it with Mailata right before the regular season opener. They announced a big extension, get some people hyped up. He'd be the obvious one this year. But he's got that undrafted tag. We talk a lot. That's tough to overcome. People still talk about it, even though he's a good player. He's proven himself. He seems to be a guy the Eagles want to extend. But I was talking about it earlier on this show. Milton Williams bet on himself. If they try to lowball Reed Blankenship, should he bet on himself?
I think he's a serious candidate. Like he's one. He and Davis. Those are two I'm looking at the guys like we hear either before training camp. One of them I think we hear before training camp starts. Another one I think we hear before week 1 starts. I think one of those guys are the prime candidates that they can get the extension right now. And then some of the other guys is based on position dependent, they just wait and see it. But I think for Reed, it's one of those, even if the undrafted tag, what have you. I think he's also knows aware, like his situation, even though how well he's played, you look at the situation around the league, what have you, and the safeties and everything else. He's got good numbers. He's played well in the system, what have you. But when you look at some of the other, I think when you look at some of the guys that are coming out in next year's free agency class as well too, Mel Pack and everything else, I think he goes for the money now, especially going as an undrafted guy. I know they gave him that little restructured contract on that. I think he grabs the money now, knows the money that he has now that's coming there, and he just gets it done. Like, okay, I know what I got. I know what I'm making here. It's gonna be a really good raise. It's not going to be among the top 10 safeties or anything, so you don't have to worry about that. It's a really good raise. I'll bank that, and then move on from there. So I think Reed.
I think. By the way, I think he's going to be. You mentioned Slay being back, Brandon retiring. They don't have. They lost 2 defensive. I think Reed Blankenship's going to be a captain this year. I think he is.
Yeah. He's from what I've heard, he's been one of the guys that likes to step up and talk. I wouldn't be surprised if Davis. I wouldn't be surprised.
Jordan
Davis
as well. Yeah, I mentioned him as well. Yeah, he's the leader of the defensive line room, and Reed's the leader of the secondary.
Yep. So those guys. And who would have thought? Like you look at 2 years ago, and you hear these guys now. Now you see the progression of these, the way that they're letting this leadership. Like last year, I thought was very pivotal because you lost a voice like Kelsey. You're starting to see some of these guys, like you knew Graham was probably going to retire, or the Mitch retired before he actually did. So to see some of these guys, they allow them to prepare. It's like they're still vocal, but they let some of these younger guys speak a little bit more. And you start to see that natural transition. I thought that was a good job by not only Sirianni, but I think a lot of these veterans in his team should realize what was going on and allow everybody to have a voice. And you start to see the fruition, so you don't have to worry about who's going to speak up. You're going to have a quiet huddle when stuff's going bad. You got a quiet locker room, and you have guys a lot of like to lead by example instead of vocal guys. You need those vocal guys because they're the ones that wake you up. I still think there's not so much as it wasn't a cap or whatever, but just like that nasty, the bully guy. I think I'm still looking to see when CJ Johnson got traded, who's gonna be that bully guy? Who's gonna be that guy like that? Like I don't know what that guy's gonna do over there.
Right.
He's gonna talk about. I want to know who's that guy on this team now.
Maybe they'll just bring Brandon out to talk trash and
yeah, right.
the special assistant to Jeremiah Washburn. He's
trash
right on the other sideline. Oh, fat boy. Yeah.
Chris, what do you think the offensive evolution looks like under the first year of Kevin Patullo in Philly?
I think it'll be a lot of the same, but I would not be surprised. And from what I've heard Saturday, speaking to some people and everything else, I wouldn't be surprised if you see Jahan Dotson used a little bit more in this offense based on what he's done. And like we said, when it came to these passing camps. These OTAs are just glorified passing camps, no pads, not real physical. You just mainly go and make sure you get the routes down and everything. But people are saying he had a really good OTAs, really good.
Yeah,
and
he's
he
a good
needs
player,
to because
man. He's a good player.
He's got another guy contract year. I mean, when you hear like when the team tells you we're declining your 5th-year option, and I know the Eagles weren't going to do it because it was high, and his uses in his spot in this offense is kind of tough to utilize him as much as can. When you hear that, as a player, you're still going like, oh, okay, ready to prove myself. I can still get a big check still, but I can prove myself okay too. So I think he's gotten another year into this system. He feels a little more comfortable, and he's got that natural talent that we talked about before. Booba, you stop thinking about the system, you start doing it comes naturally. He knows Jalen Hurts worked Jalen Hurts, so yeah, I look at him being used a little bit more. You're still going to use a lot of the run. I think you see a little bit more Will Shipley just to keep.
Oh, don't say that.
This is a Will Shipley episode today, Chris.
Yeah, I'd like Will Shipley. I think people are going to be happy with Will Shipley, but there is a growing group in the chat, I guess, or maybe it's Zander, not high on Will Shipley. I'm like, what did Will Shipley do? What did poor Will Shipley do?
You see, when you see the reps that Gainwell get, you don't have to worry about. I'm not saying you won't see Shipley getting 20, 25 carries unless it's the last game of the regular season, something like that.
Well, hopefully, or Saquon's hurt, and that's not good.
But I think you'll see mixed up. I think we might see a couple times a little bit more of the two back offense a little bit more. I think fits a little more for that. So, yeah, I think it'll be a lot of the same, because Patel will just tweak a little more. Maybe we'll see a little bit more play action passes off of it. I think they take more of an interest this year into the passing offense and try it started out early on. They're not going to completely abandon the run. They're going to try just basically spell it out and just go from there and make the adjustments as they go along.
30 carries for 82 yards for Will Shipley last year. Not so good there, Chris and John.
The third running back. I mean, coming in garbage time with a back.
I'm just saying, if you're extrapolating that out, that's
you're not including the postseason. I know that.
No, the postseason he had the 57-yarder.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
He's a good role player. He'll be a good role player. Star.
No, I think he's gonna be a good backup. That's all.
Yeah.
I think and my main concern with Will is pass protection, because that's he's gonna be a third down guy mainly when he does play. And that's a big part of it. And Kenny got better and better and better at it. And most college backs, and Will included, are really poor at pass protection. And that's going to be learning on the job type thing. We'll see how it shakes out. Did you get any Nakobe time? I know he's sick of talking about his rehab, but we talked about leaders. There's your leader. There's your defensive leader. But he's hurt again. And it's a very serious injury. And Vic admitted we're not going to see him for a while. Now, that dude, Chris, was off crutches at clean-out day. So it's almost, you're like, we saw him with his Liz Frank injury. He was on a rollabout. Then it was crutches. Then it was the walking boot. All this, it was a really difficult rehab. And he has a breakout year, and then he gets hurt again. And now this time it's like, all right, he doesn't have crutches. He doesn't have anything. But this is a very significant injury that needs time to heal. What is Nakobe? Did you get any time with him? I know he's getting sick of getting asked these questions, but he looks so good. It's like we're all like, maybe he's ahead of schedule.
I didn't get any time with him, but I did ask around about when it came to that. I know I asked Jihad about what is his impact, what he's seen about as well too. And physically, kind of mom didn't want to say anything on that one. When it comes to that, he just said he's helping out in terms of he's helping Campbell out a lot in terms of learning the system. So when you knew Nakobe wouldn't be that guy, goes, oh, you're a linebacker. Okay, sorry that we all knew he wasn't there.
Yeah.
And if he did decide to play, I thought that would have been news itself. Like, wait a minute, this guy's still rehabbing. He's playing softball, running around.
Yeah.
what's going on.
And he didn't
But
play with you.
he didn't play. No, he didn't
No.
dress her.
He
dressed,
did.
he didn't
I'm
play.
sure you saw that he did make the backward shot from when they went to the Palestra. He made the trick shot.
He did. He was able to do that. I thought it was key.
Yeah.
I thought that was key there. But I'm sorry. The fact that if your kneecap is up in your thigh,
Yeah,
and you're already back, and you're still rehabbing, and there's a shot you come in, like there's a shot you come in earlier in the season. That's just crazy. It is. And he's a fast healer. That's one thing you learn over time. And fortunately, we've had to learn it over the time with that one. That he's a fast healer. He goes quicker than normal. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him early in the season. As an outside shot before it, I don't like playing the medical game because I'm not a doctor or what have you. And if I did,
I don't like putting the timetable.
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni, trademark Nick Sirianni. I don't like putting it that. Whereas Vic says, Jihad will be back in August.
It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, he didn't talk about it. I think overall, I think he's on. I think it sounds like he's a little bit ahead of schedule, but yeah, it's still kind of.
I saw him on clean out day, and I'm like, whoa, dude. I'm like, he didn't have a crutch, he didn't have a brace, he didn't have anything.
Yeah, and the fact that and then the Palestra too. I was looking at it like it's crazy. We start looking like, okay, what details can you glean from that Palestra video? So you start seeing him move around. So yeah, it's going fast. It's a little faster than normal. He said after 6 weeks removed from the surgery, the timetable and the healing really picks up. And when we saw, parade, and then now you look and see him this. I think there's it's tough. I think he's looking pretty good in terms of that, but if I heard he's a little bit ahead of schedule, but will that mean he's gonna be ready for week 1? That's still yet to be determined.
Yeah,
I'm hoping for half a season from Jacoby, but we'll see. We'll see.
He's your trade deadline. He's your quote unquote. He could be your quote unquote trade deadline pickup.
Exactly.
I think that depends on Trotter, right? I mean, if Trotter plays well, then maybe. But if he doesn't play well, I think they're going to be itching to get Jacoby back in there. I guess Jihad Campbell's a factor too, but we will see. Chris, we appreciate you joining today, brother. As always, a great segment here. We went up to 9:55 here, so we got a couple minutes left to play. We appreciate you doing it with us today, brother. As always, make sure you guys follow Chris at C Franklin News and read all his work at nj.com.
Yeah.
Chris, we appreciate it, brother. Thank you for doing it.
Happy 4th of July, Chris. Enjoy
Happy
it.
4th of July to you guys. Happy 4th of July, everybody out there. Y'all have a good one now.
All right.
See you, bud.
There's Chris Franklin joining us here on Birds 365. Well done by Chris Franklin. Always good to talk to Chris Franklin. I haven't talked to him in a little bit here on the show, Johnny Mac, but we love getting Chris up on Birds 365. And the Will Shipley conversation won't leave us today. But overall, great interview with Chris.
Yeah. Chris is a good dude, knows his stuff, and was up at the softball game. So, Jacoby's interesting because it is such a weird dynamic. Like, he's not healthy, but there's no overt. Like, when I mentioned the Lisbrank stuff, he's on a rollabout, he's on crutches, he's got a walking boot. None of that this time, and I think that has fooled some people that maybe he's closer or ahead of schedule, but that's an injury that just needs time to heal. Very similar to ACLs. I mean, a lot of guys are 6 months out of an ACL and they say, I feel fine, but that thing needs time to heal properly. And you got to wait. That the Eagles generally lean to 9 months, and they're not going to deter off that. With this, it's even more uncertain because there's no real concrete 9 months sort of litmus test that you can use. Some guys are back a little bit quicker. Some guys are back in a calendar year. And obviously it happened early January. So that wouldn't be good if it's calendar year.
Yeah, no doubt about that. We got some super chats we'll get to. Shout out to Dank Bird Gang. Says Chris Franklin, hands down, best recurring guest. I love it. Great comment there. Appreciate that, Dank Bird Gang. Let's get to our super chats today. Kimberly, let me start at the top. Kimberly, I'll get to you. Just give me a sec. Akbar Divine checking in. What's up, Akbar? One of my brothers. Appreciate you, Akbar. He says, Mac, what do you think about replaying the Bonnie situation with you, Sills, Zan, and me? Jimmy play Jimmy. I don't know if he meant me play Jimmy. I'll play Jules. You the Wolf, and Stills be Vincent.
Pulp Fiction reference.
I think
I'll take that. I'll take the Wolf. I'll be the Wolf. Yeah.
Which
I'm
one's
clear.
Wolf?
Harvey Keitel. He's the guy. He's the cleaner. So
Okay. Yeah.
right. I believe I'm correct on that.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'm generally very logical and calm, so I can clean up the situation.
Yeah, you can clean up. There you go, Akbar. We're running it up, brother. There you go. Appreciate the super chat. Alfredo checking in. What's up, Alfredo? 4 to 5 days into camp, questions will be answered. That's a pretty quick answer for Alfredo.
4 to 5 days into camp, they don't even do anything. 4 to 5 days in a camp, they got a ramp up period where you can't really. You got to ramp up. You can't really do some things. So I think that is not the design. They won't even have the offense or the defense installed 4 to 5 days into camp. So now there's going to be some legit competitions on the defensive side of the football that are going to go deep into training camp.
Yeah, I agree. Fredo, we'll see what happens, brother. Brian Pumper. There he is. He says, my seventh heaven is going to win that CB2 job, and you casuals better not sleep on Sid Vicious. The slander on Buddy has been irresponsible. Sidney Brown hasn't done shit, Brian Pumper.
It seems like people here have turned the page on Sid. I have not turned the page on Sid.
No, I haven't turned the page on him, but I'm not super optimistic that he's going to replace Gardner.
Well, I don't think he's a fit for Big's defense, but we'll see.
Not disciplined enough, right? Just kind of too much of a wild card, loose cannon out there.
Well, both, probably that, and also I just think he's like an old school box safety, not a coverage safety, and Vic prefers the coverage. That's why Makuba's here. So I think a lot of people are leaning on that, but if Makuba's not ready, I mean, he's not ready. He's not Ronnie Lott. There's no guarantee he's going to be ready day one of his rookie season. 64th overall pick in the draft. So I think there's a chance that Sidney wins the job just because he's a better player, but by being a better player, not saying he is or he isn't. But I think there's a chance he wins the job. But long term, I think he wants a Makuba style safety more than a Sidney style safety.
Pump, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the super chat, my man. Miz checking in. What's up, Miz? Appreciate you, brother. He says Makuba at slot? ? Coop at Malcolm Jenkins. I love it. He doesn't say the position. He just says Coop at Malcolm Jenkins ? I love it. John, what do you think of what Miz had to say?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's. I brought that up to Vic as well. And Makuba really was a nickel corner at Clemson before he moved at Texas. So he's got some history playing nickel. The Eagles are aware of that.
Yeah. It's not impossible for this to happen, right? Like this isn't as far-fetched as some people might think.
No. Not far-fetched at all. Yeah. But again, similar things to learning safety at the NFL level, learning slot at the NFL level. Just because Cooper did it quickly doesn't mean that is going to be a common occurrence. But there are many options, and Vic has said where Cooper plays is dependent on others, not Cooper, because he's confident that Cooper can play anywhere. So that is dependent on others. Can Ringo play outside corner? Are you comfortable with Adoree at outside corner? Probably one of the two, but maybe not. He might play outside. Can Makuba play the slot or McWilliams play the slot? Maybe then that enables you to kick Cooper to safety if Makuba can't play safety and Brown can't play safety. So it depends on the other guys, not Cooper. And Vic's telling the truth. He's competent wherever he plays Cooper.
Yeah, I agree. Miz, great super chat, brother. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for the support of the show. Kimberly Sirico. Kimberly, thank you so much for your support of the show as well. I know you're working on your new job, so appreciate you carving out some time for us, Kimberly. She says, Market needs to be reset, not paying Trevor $60 million. I agree on that. That is the reason they are trying to push flag football. Resets the market, cheaper labor, not CTE. It's money. Wow, Kimberly's opening up a can of worms.
The problem there, Kimberly, is nobody's going to watch flag football. So it's not going to be money.
Are you interested in flag football, John? With the greatest athletes on the
no,
planet? No,
not at all.
Well, so I guess we're going to get a trial run, right, in the Olympics.
Yeah, we're going to get a trial run, and I can't imagine. So that, and I brought that up myself. Irv Mushnick, I always say, is an author. He brought that up to me years ago, and I laughed in his face. And I no longer laugh in his face because there are so many concerns and so many people about the health issues and CTA specifically that I could see it going down that route. But I think the popularity of the sport just is destroyed if you go down that route. And ultimately money will win out. So I still lean on, at least in my lifetime, which probably isn't that great, you're still going to have professional football. Down the road, 50, 100 years from now, yeah, I could see flag football, but it ain't going to be popular. I'm pretty confident saying that. So I would disagree with the money aspect of it. It will crater.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see what happens. Kimberly follows up one more time. Training kids for scholarship. My boy commits to Georgia. I don't know what exactly you mean there. Is that your new job? Kimberly, appreciate the chat. I don't know what you mean. I know you're a Georgia girl, though, and you love Georgia football. So we'll see what happens there. Johnny Mack, your final thoughts on this Tuesday edition of Birds 365. A little piece of breaking news that's not football related.
Oh, yeah, Shy. You see Shy's contract? Is that
4-year, $285 million? What is that? $71 million a year?
That's it. That's it. Yeah, MVP, world champion, cashes in 4 years, $285 million. And a lot of people bring that up. By the way, I'll end it there. A lot of people bring it up. Come on. It's that's another one of my pet peeves. Why do NBA players get paid so much and NFL players, which is the more popular sport, and quarterbacks are getting up there, but they're not getting Shy money. There's 15 players on an NBA roster.
Yeah, right.
There's 53 on an, and when
and 3 of them get big money. I mean, let's be real. It's not like 10 of them get big money. 3 of them get huge.
But yeah, the high. Anyway, there's 53 guys that you got to spread the pie on, and really 70 when you include the practice squad. So,
yeah, absolutely.
It's a big difference. Big difference. The math alone explains that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Fly, Eagles, fly. Good night. 71 million. Hey, listen, earned it, man. NBA champion, MVP of the league. So not my favorite player on earth. I don't think he's that fascinating or interesting, but I don't know. That's just me. Listen, he earned it, and got to give him
you win 68 games in the MVP, the NBA championship. You're pretty interesting.
Well, I agree with that. I'm just saying, he doesn't feel as much like a superstar as some of the other guys that have come before him. But again, my opinion is irrelevant. He just signed a $71 million deal. Johnny Mack, your final thoughts, brother. Appreciate the great show today.
July is here. 3 weeks away. 3 weeks and counting. We got a couple more shows, but I'll even start right now. Happy 4th of July if you're doing it early, because I know a lot of people are going on vacation early. But you might as well listen to us if you're on vacation.
There you go. Good stuff. I appreciate it. Johnny Mack, great show today, brother. We'll catch you tomorrow on a Wednesday edition of Birds 365. Thank you, brother.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. There's Johnny Mack, John McMullen here on Birds 365. Great show today. Follow him on X at JF McMullen and follow me on X at Zander Krause. Appreciate everybody for being here today. A lot of great comments, a lot of great super chats today. So appreciate all of our great super chatters. All right. Dank says one of the best scorers in the league. Yeah, I'm just not that interested in him. Where's our guy D Hughes? Is he in here? He loves Shay or Shy or what is it? Shay? Is it Shy? I don't even know how to pronounce the dude's name. Hating on my guy SG. I'm not hating on him, Dank. I don't view him as a superstar like, some of the guys that I was a big fan of when I loved the NBA 10 years ago. KD, LeBron, Steph. I'm like, those guys are superstars. Shea, I'm like, he's a good player. Gets a lot of points, draws a lot of fouls, makes his free throws, does some good things. But I don't know. It's all right. He's all right, in my opinion. But he's an NBA champion. So, again, he doesn't give a shit what I have to say, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him. All right, so good chats today, everybody, though. We had some good super chats today. Akbar, I love that you brought up the Pulp Fiction scene to Johnny Mac. I don't know. You didn't reference me. Did you mean me play Jimmy, or you said Jimmy played Jimmy? I don't know what the hell you meant. Get it right, Akbar. I mean, come on. Come on. I like the Miz comment, too. Makuba at Slot. Coop at Malcolm Jenkins. I love that. I do think Coop has that type of skill set. So, pretty good. Your name is Jimmy. My name is not Jimmy. Is that what it is in the show, though? Act Beezy, you're going to have to shoot me a text. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You know I love you, though, brother. How many Kango hats do you have? A lot. You don't even watch. How do you know that, Z? Look at Dank. Dank, you're a little feisty this morning. You're a little feisty, Dank. You're a little feisty. You're like D. Hughes this morning. Where's my boy D. Hughes? Well, that's true. My middle name. Did I tell you that? I guess I told you that. James. Alexander James. That's my name. Alexander James. It's a good name. There's another J-Mac, ain't there? There might be. A couple other J-Macs out there. I'm a Stone Mountain, Georgia native. Wow, look at that. Bud. I love your name. I don't know if it's your real name, but Bud Scroggins. I love it. It's just like a funny name. It's a savage name. I wouldn't be complaining if my name was Bud Scroggins. It still ain't Bonilla money. I don't know, Wayne. It might be, man. He's making Bonilla money in 1 year. Crazy. Crazy money for that dude. That's good, though. I think he deserves it. So, Sig Lord, I can't even read yet that comment. All right, everybody. Great show today. I appreciate all of you guys being here. I thought we hit on some good topics. I think we've covered really a lot of great topics as we get closer to training camp here. I had a list of like 30 topics I wanted to hit, and we've been running through them each day. I've been dedicating a segment to certain players, which I think are important. So a lot of really good topics, a lot of good things that we've discussed here on Birds 365. I'll say this: I do believe that our fans and our subscribers and our viewers are going to be very prepared for the Eagles season this year. And I'm proud. I take pride in that. So I'm certainly prepared. I feel like I know too much about this football team, but it is my job. And I feel like you guys are going to be ready to rock too. You're going to know every position battle. You're going to know all the players at the back, who's competing for playing time, and all those great things. So a lot of great things happening here on the show. The Cilio show has been crushing as well, and all of our great people have been here. So I do appreciate it, man. And we'll do some fun things. I am going to start to get ready once training camp rolls around. I'm going to try and start to get those memberships back, try and get some people back, increase the viewership once again, and do some giveaways. All right, have some giveaways. Got to get some jerseys in. I already talked to my guy, all right, about getting jerseys this year. He's like, don't worry, I'll keep you stocked and loaded all year long. So I'm looking forward to all that. And we're 21 days away, 21 days away until they report. So, man, we're killing it. All right, we're killing it. This guy says, I'm subscribed now. Love the interaction. You're going to blow up. Well, thank you, man. I'm not. I'll go AJ Brown on you, Arizona. It's about the process, all right, not the results. But I appreciate it, man. Thank you for subscribing and keep repping them Birds out there in Arizona. Arizona, man. It's got to be hot out there right now, right? Got to be hot out there right now. So look at Dank. Yeah, Dank. If you win again, another giveaway, I'll give you an SGA. I'll go SGA for you. If you want that, I'll go SGA. You want me to order you an SGA jersey? Make that happen. A man of the people. All right. Hot take. Jalix Hunt, 10 sacks. I like it. I like it a lot, Donnie Four. I don't know who wants to be a Kyler Murray fan. Nobody wants to be a Kyler Murray fan. Although, where was he this weekend? I saw him pop up on my social media feed. Kyler Murray shows up to, was that UFC maybe? I don't know where that was. Sig, can you see Zan playing Jimmy? Akbar, I might have to rewatch that movie. That is a movie I've seen, Pulp Fiction, but man, it's been a while. I think I watched that when I was like early high school. One of my best friends in high school, super wealthy family. He lives in Bryn Mawr. And if you know anything about the area, Bryn Mawr is a fine area, an awesome area to live, man. The main line's very nice out there. But he had this big, humongo house, and he had this big movie theater in the attic. He had like these big chairs, and he just loves movies. Like he loves movies. So we would, he's one of my best friends. So I would always crash at his house, and he would always toss on a movie, and I'd be zonked in the chair. So pretty funny. But I know he liked Pulp Fiction. I think I saw it with him, and I was probably zonked in the chair as it goes. Yo, Master Eagle, I don't know if you saw my comment. I wish you a happy birthday too. So everybody drop a happy birthday for Master Eagle. We appreciate him being here. Master Eagle, I like the dog in your profile picture. All right. I like that dude. He's rocking the shades. I mean, just looks like a savage dude in there. All right. So I love it. Appreciate all of you guys being here. Big Mike, thank you, brother. Donnie, thank you, man. Akbar, I love you, brother. I know you were gone for a little bit, but you were a busy dude, man. You're a working man. I appreciate you, Akbar. AkBG for cheesy. I love saying that. It's like one of my favorite things to say. Akbar, that's going to be your intro on the post game this year. AkBG for cheesy. I might make you the first guest every week too. All right. So we'll see. We'll see what kind of changes we got coming for the season this year. Appreciate all you guys. Love all you guys. Hit the like button on the show, and I'll see you tomorrow on Birds 365.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate, inside the locker room, and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.